Hello there. I should be out at my bench, but right now it's too windy and all, so I'm doing it, and it's cool, so I'm doing it in here. This is an old Craftsman 3/8 wrench. Well, it's not super old. It's a Gen 4, which was like the mid-90s on to like 2015 or somewhere in that range. That's not exact, but that's sort of the range that they were in. And it's a US made ratchet. And I've had it a long time. I've had it since the early 2000s. And it's served me well, but I recently had to change the guide pulley on my Kia Sedona. And the guide pulley had a reverse thread, Torx-headed bolt that held it in, and it's reverse thread so that it tightens as the thing spins, because it tightens in the direction of the spin of the pulley. So the thing was frozen on the pulley. And I had to take this ratchet and a cheater bar, which is just a big pipe you put on the end, because I do not have a breaker bar. My breaker bar, my good SK breaker bar, disappeared. So I don't have a breaker bar. That needs to be remedied, and I will at some point. But the point is that when I was using this to take that off, I had to use a breaker bar, and 3 or 4 times the ratchet slipped and went pop, pop. Okay, so I can't make it fail by hand. It seems to be working okay. But what I want to do is I want to open this ratchet up and see what's going on with the gears, whether there's anything wrong with it. And while I'm at it, I need to clean it up. So, and grease it. So, what I did, it has a pin that sits. This is what I'm going to grease it in. We'll talk about that in a minute. It sits right in here. I would call that like a C-clip. And it has these 2 holes in the C-clip here. Usually you would take a pair of snap ring pliers and compress that clip and pull it out. All I had was this. I don't have any snap ring pliers. I need to remedy that too. So I didn't show you how to do this because I've never done this before, and I got the sucker out, and I decided to let discretion be the better part of valor and didn't stick it back in. So now what happens is this assembly will come straight out. Now, and I'm going to need to clean it, but I think the gears you can see there's, I don't know if you can or not, but there's quite a bit of wear on those gears. I just don't know how bad that is because I've never opened one before. But let's look at the pawl. That's this thing here. Now I didn't take this out because there's a bearing. You can see it right here. And there's a hole with a spring back in here. And I don't want to pull that out because I don't want that spring to go flying, yada, yada, yada. But I want to check out that pawl and see how much wear is on it. And I don't know if you can see it. But that doesn't look too bad. But there is some wear. Right. Well, now I can't. There is some wear on this first gear. Right here. But not very much. So this racket might survive. I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it, put it back together, and put a socket in a vise and see whether it will continue to work. Put some pressure on it, that kind of deal. Alright, stand by. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this outside and spray it all down with brake cleaner. And I'll clean all the inside out, and then we'll be back to reassemble it, to grease it and reassemble it. I'm not going to show that part because it's outside and it's windy and all of that. And my wife doesn't want that smell in the house, so I'm going to do that work outside and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Some of the teeth are definitely rounded and worn on this ratchet, but I don't think it's bad enough. And when I look at that, the ball is working. I used carbon choke cleaner on it because this piece is plastic. I didn't know what the brake cleaner would do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lube this now. I'm going to actually clean that out just a little bit. I'm going to take some toilet paper and clean out in here because I failed to do that, and you can see it needs it. So I'm going to clean out in here. And what I want to do, what I'm going to use, I don't have anything else right now. This is Extreme Weapons grease. It was given to me by a friend. It's Slip 2000. This is good stuff. It might be a little bit extreme for a ratchet because I don't think it's very cheap. But I'm going to put just a little bit because you don't need very much. I can get it to come out. Good stuff. I'm going to put a little bit along, well, the moving surfaces. And I want to thank a channel called Gear Wolf and I think it's Tool Teardown. Hold on, let me go look real quick. Stand by. Yeah, Tool Teardowns. Both of these channels helped me, showed me how to do this. I'm going to put just a bit of grease right there, and I'm going to put some along the inside there where all of that mates up. And from what I understand, you put this in the center detent position. There. And this goes back in, and here comes the fun part, is making sure that I can do this. We're going to find out. I may have messed up big time because I might not be able to put this back together. We're going to give it a go. The ratchet was damaged, and I needed to make sure exactly how bad it was. So this was something that was necessary to do. Almost got it. And if you have the snap ring pliers, it's a good idea to use them, because that's the tool that everyone recommends that you use. It sounds like a ton better. It's not as loud, and that's something that I noticed on the other videos, the videos that I watched learning how to do this as well. What I want to do, I know it doesn't matter, but I want to kind of center that. So that's how you do that. Now they have repair kits that gives you this gear and everything else specific to these ratchets. You can repair them. Stand by and I'll do a strength test on this, or enough for me. Stand by. Alright, I'm back. I tried to put this socket in a vise and it just spins. The vise won't, or rather this socket, the vise won't grab it. So what I'm going to do, I have this 9/16 bolt and two 9/16 or 14 millimeter. I don't know for sure which, and I don't really care. But for purposes of this, the tools I'm using are 9/16. So I'm going to grab it like this. And the nut didn't slip. Okay, that's tight. That's loosening it. Let's try tightening it. Alright, that right there satisfies me enough to say that I think that this ratchet is most likely. Let me try one more time. And that's that's this slipping. Let me see if I can. Alright. Maybe the box end will grab it tighter. Okay, I'm satisfied that this works just fine with the worn out teeth and all. I think that I would have to use that a lot harder than I really would need to. The thing about this is I should have never put a cheater bar on this. You should never put a pipe on the end of a ratchet. Okay, just maybe a wrench. The wrench might bend or something like that, and it might break out here if you're using the box end, or this might slip. Okay, but a ratchet, you'll strip the gears in a ratchet if you have to apply enough force. You should always use a breaker bar and then put the ratchet on it, and you know, take off what you need to take off. But so that's, you know, that was my bad. It's not the ratchet's fault. It's the end user. So all I'm looking for, let me straighten that out, is that this ratchet will work by hand. Okay. If it that's why you see these. There's a lot of tool videos on YouTube about, you know, we're going to take this wrench or this socket or this ratchet to failure, and you know, you might see something like a snap-on might do like 700 or 900 or 1400 foot-pounds. Okay, well this ratchet might do 700, 900, 1,000 foot-pounds, and those are just numbers I'm throwing out. And people would say, well, the snap-on is a better ratchet because it's stronger, yada yada yada. Well, this is meant to be used by hand. It was made to be used by hand. So is the snap-on. Okay, you're not supposed to put a pipe on the end of it and subject it to torque that's way in excess of what the thing was designed to be used for in the first place. So most of those tests they're for gearheads and guys that want to, want bragging rights or whatever, or just because people want to see how long will it last before it fails. The thing of it is that's not a real world test of the product. Okay, if you take a ratchet or any other tool and use it the way it's designed, unless it's an incredibly cheap piece of junk, it's going to work, and it's going to last. If it's a decent quality built tool, it'll last. And so, I abused this and caused an issue with the gears, but I do not believe it's an issue that is going to cost me this ratchet. I think that this ratchet is just fine the way that it is, and it sounds a lot better now. Than it did. So, thanks for coming along. I hope that was interesting to you. Bless you, and I'll talk to you later.